Hari Om, bhajagovindam chanting verses 16 to 20.
अग्रे वह्निः पृष्ठे भानुः रात्रौ जुगुकसमर्पितजानुः करतलभिक्षस्तरुतलवासः तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशापाशः कुरुते गङ्गासागरगमनं व्रतपरिपालनमथवा दानम् ज्ञानविहीनः सर्वमतेन मुक्तिं न भजति जन्मशतेन सुरमन्दिरतरुमूलनिवासः शय्याभूतलमजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रहभोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः योगरतो वा भोगरतो वा सङ्गरतो वा सङ्गविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तं नन्दति नन्दति नन्दत्येव भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गाजललवकणिका पीता सकृदपि येन मुरारिसमर्चा क्रियते तस्य यमेन न चर्चा
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करमावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Study the Bhagavad Gita even a little. Drunk a little drop of Ganges water. Worshipped Murari at least once. He has no contention with Yama, the Lord of Death. Now, when he says you have to do a little study of the Gita, the little study includes the two things. In fact, somebody had raised this question in the last class, which we couldn't deal in detail. When we say study, we refer to two things. Scriptural study means Sravanam, following which is Mananam. Listen and reflect. Shravana means listening. Manana means reflecting. When you do these two things together, that's called study. Listen, you can put it / read, and reflect. So think over. Many people make this mistake that study means only listening or reading. I go on reading something or I go on listening something. That is only 50% of the job. It's only half. Now, when I say 50%, people don't understand. Now, it is like you are trying to jump across a well You have come up to 50%. What does it mean? Yeah, 50% I have come. No, you will be inside the well only. You say you have to cross. It has to be 100%. You can't say 50% is a. You can't say democracy here. You know, it doesn't work here. In percentage wise, we will never understand. Remember, these two things has to be done together, and this has to be done in that sequence. You know, you have to do it together, but at the same time, there is a sequence there. Only then it is complete. Otherwise, your study is incomplete. In that, Shravanam means literally means listening. Now, listening, when we say Shravanam, means it is not a passive agree. Remember, you just follow the teacher. That's it. As he is speaking, you just go along. That's all. You don't have the temptation to go ahead of him. That is called listening. That is where it becomes a discipline. That's why when you go to this communication classes, programs, the accent is more in terms of listening to than you speaking or writing. You see, communication means what, sir? I'm giving out my idea either in the form of talking or in the form of writing. I'm expressing my ideas. Now, communication is this part. No, they say more difficult than this is the other side of that, which is where I receive the idea, either through listening or through reading. What is the difficulty in that, sir? The difficulty in this listening is we have a temptation to move ahead. When we say move ahead, what we mean is you are preparing to give a response every time. See, in this classroom setup, you may be listening. See, you may appear to be listening, that's all. But most of the time, beyond this classroom setup, you see, when somebody is speaking, just see what you do. You don't actually listen to them. You are only preparing to give a reply. See, what is the response I'm going to give? What is the answer I'm going to give? What is the question I'm going to ask? You tend to move into that space of responding, restraining yourself from that temptation. Number one. In listening, what is the problem there? Listening means, number one, I follow the speaker. I don't move ahead of the speaker. I go one step behind that speaker. As he is speaking, I just move along with him. Number one. Second thing we need to pay attention to is when the teacher is speaking, he is trying to answer the question raised by you. Now, that is why all the scriptures we have are all in the question answer format. Scriptures don't give lecture. They don't give lecture. There's a question to which there's an answer. Take all the Upanishads. All those Upanishads were question answer. You take the Bhagavad Gita, the various Gitas are there. Quick question answer. Yoga Vasishta, question answer. Now you may say, sir, what about the Smritis and Puranas and Itihasas? Are they not stories? They are not stories, please. They are question answers. A question being asked, answer is given. That's what it is. In that answer, they give some story. That's all. They answer in the form of a story more, it is one thing. The form of a cryptic truth, that's the Upanishads. With a little elucidation and reasoning, all that, then it becomes a smriti. Application orientation, taking various situational analysis and all that, when they do, that becomes a smriti. But however, all the three forms of textbooks that we have as scriptures are all in the form of question answer only. They ask a question, master gives an answer. The student asks a question, master gives an answer. On his own, what is a master going to say, sir? Nothing. Out of charity he speaks. Out of compassion he is speaking. So the student has to extract that material from the master. How do you extract it, sir? You got a question. That's what in the Gita he says, pariprashnena. You got to question. Only by questions you extract. Now we don't have, when we are not having any questions, we take up the text and start thinking. That's all. If there is a question, priority is always for the question in the classroom setup, because it is that's the only way you can extract message. Material can be extracted only through that format. But then there is one problem we have. The moment a question comes to you, that problem is, the question is mine, answer is not mine. So there is always a possibility of a student getting involved in the question. The student will get attached to the question. The student falls in love with the question. Once you fall in love with the question, you are not available for the answer. Most of the time people ask questions and they are not there for answer. They just ask question to get a confirmation from you. I know this is the answer, but you just confirm it to me. That's all. I know that. Only confirmation I need, reconfirm it. That's why people ask, what's your opinion? What is your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? I say, I have no opinions. They'll dismiss it. They will not answer. Why? Because with opinion, what are you going to do? And you are going to come to the conclusion. Finally, you will say what? You keep your opinion, I keep my opinion. That's all. We are sitting like, in the news channels, they debate, you see. Every expert will come and they say whatever they want to say, they go back. That's all. There's nobody is listening. Everybody is talking. You see, the masters don't do that. Guru will never do that. He will never waste his time and energy with the student who is not available for listening. In Shravanam, the difficulty is this: to make your mind available to receive the knowledge, wherein you don't go ahead of him, nor you fall in love with the topic, fall in love with the things. Now, people fall in love with Bhagavad Gita. I've got, I can easily recollect at least about 30-40 calls. This last, this 2-3 months itself. We got people call and ask, are you teaching Bhagavad Gita? I said, no, we are teaching bhajagovindam. No, I want Bhagavad Gita only. Why? I want to understand. That's all. What text needs to be decided by whom? See, when you go to college, you don't design the syllabus, isn't it? Does the student decide the syllabus? BSc Mathematics. I will decide what should be the syllabus of BSc Mathematics, and the professor has to teach that. No. University decides. They decide the syllabus. Now, are you interested in the subject? That's the point. We don't get involved with the topics. Integration, differentiation, I don't want. Integration only teach me. I'm not interested in this. I'm interested only in that. You see, that's what the problem is. I want to learn, but you fall in love with something. You fall in love with the topic, you fall in love with the text, you fall in love with the question, and then you go on asking the same question. If you see carefully with people, they don't ask many questions. Like in the Gita, if you see carefully, list down all the questions asked by Arjuna. If you take the list of all the questions raised by Arjuna, you would see he is not asking anything different. He is asking the same question again and again and again. In between, he may ask some different questions. See, but essentially, one question is what is consistently been asked, which means Krishna has already answered it. That's what he starts with. He says, Loke esmin vivida nishtapra prokta mayanaga. Given the very beginning itself, what? There are two paths. Jnana yogena sankyanam, karma yogena yogina. Jnana yoga for the Sankyas, karma yoga for the yogis. Whoever that is, whatever it is. I'm not going into that explanation of what is it and all that. But he says, I have already given out. Now, why are you asking now? Asking the same question again. And again, the 5th chapter, he asks the same question. Again, in the 8th chapter, same question. Again, in that, 14th chapter, same question. He doesn't change his question at all. Same question he goes on asking. Why? You fall in love with the question. You fall in love with the text. The textbook is not to be fallen in love with. See, just listen. When you are listening, the rules are very different. So first one, temptation. Don't prepare yourself. When you are listening, stop that mental chattering, mind going on. That is why for listening, for Shravanam, primary requirement they say is surrender. You have to surrender first. Only when you surrender, the mind gets relaxed. Mind gets quietened. Otherwise, the mind goes on doubting. Doubting. Is it correct? Can I be sure about it? Can we trust? Suppose if this not, suppose if that not. So many things will come into picture. As you are listening itself, you will dismiss it. That these things are not practical. You see, I've heard a lot of people saying, Ishwaran, what Swamiji says is correct there, but it's not practical. In the real world, you can't practice it. Which means what? You have dismissed the idea while listening itself. When you are listening itself, you have rejected that idea. See, now ability to take in. Now, when we say listening, we are not talking about accepting. That's what people, misunderstand. Now, listening is not accepting, please. Agreeing. I agree with him. Most of the time, what we do is, am I agreeing with what the master says, the teacher says, or am I not agreeing with him? If I agree with him, no problem. When I don't agree with him, only problem starts. What do? Reject it and say what? Practically, it doesn't work. In the real world, you can't do all these things. You cannot follow. You see, discount. Best example I give is that loans. I've seen a lot of people come to him. They listen to his lectures. He asks them to run your business on loans. Drop that first. They listen. They come out and say, what? This man doesn't know business. Business means what? You have to take loan to do business. No. How can you do a business without any loan? Now, you have never paid attention to the moment he says something different. And remember that scriptures will say things totally different from what your experiences are. In fact, they will say exactly opposite. That's why we have this invocatory prayer. It's a beautiful one, that invocatory prayer. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bunattu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvina vadhitamastu, mavit vishavahai. Let us not quarrel with each other, he says. Final one says, Mavit, that's the best part of that entire thing. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bunattu is very ordinary things. In that, invocatory prayer, the last line is the catch. The Dhimahi is what the Gayatri mantra is. Rest are all only fittings. See, the catch is that Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. That's the catch. Same way, in this mantra, the catch is this, the last one. Very interestingly, the teacher and the student together, they chant that mantra. What is what is there to dispute? There will be dispute. Why? Because the teacher is going to say things which is absolutely opposite to your way of thinking, your way of living, your values, your beliefs, your ideologies. Will you listen to him? Most of the time, we go to the masters who echo our values. I am already having the belief that life cannot be lived without desires. So one master comes and says, desire, nothing wrong with desires. Obviously, what happens? Huge following. Why? Because he is reflecting my idea already. That's what my belief is. My belief is what? You cannot run business without loans. This is my belief. Now, this man comes and says, doing business with loan is wrong. Our idea is what? Whole transactions will live in life with discounts. Discount, 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 discount. Everywhere you go, you ask for discount. What is a discount for me? What's a discount for me? What's a discount for me? Now, suddenly this man comes and says what? Don't ask for discounts. You will listen. You will say correct. For you, Swamiji, not for me. This is what we call as dispute. How will you not? If you are not disputing, means you are not listening at all to what he is saying. You are in coma. That's what most of the audience are. Either they are arguing or in coma state. They are not listening at all actually. Another group. If you listen to him, it is very difficult for you to take in that idea itself, because he is saying exactly opposite of what I believe. I believe that I am having so much of love towards my child, my children. I love them, I say. He comes and says what? You have no clue of love. Like here, Rahul Dravid came to meet Swamiji. And he was having breakfast. I was there. We are all having breakfast. While having breakfast, Swamiji told him, develop concentration, man. Don't have concentration. He had a heart attack. He said, Swamiji, in the entire cricket world, Dravid is known for what? He is known for concentration. Right? Now, you say that I lack concentration. That's what that man is super with. So sharp, He's so alert he was. She immediately asked, what do you mean by that? Then he had to explain what is, that is called Shraddha. That's what we call as faith. That's what we call as surrender. What is it? Listen. When you are listening, invariably things will come out. Your ability to take in, not agree. I am not saying that you got to agree with whatever is being said. You agree or you don't agree. That's not the point. That comes later. Agreement and disagreements comes later. First step itself, you can't start with agreement as though you have already understood. The problem is, as you are listening, we believe that we are understanding. No, you have not understood. You are receiving that idea. In Shravanam, you receive the idea. Quietly you receive. For you to quietly receive that, you need what? Now, there is a rule for the speaker. Remember, the teacher has to come from one way. Only then it will work. That is the job of the speaker. Teacher. That is not our problem. You see, we don't have to worry about that part. I say, let him do his job, let him do whatever he wants. But I have to ensure that from my side, whatever I am doing is correct. So much of corruption in the government. Therefore, I am not going to pay tax. Will you say that? You can say that. But still what? You have to face the case. You can't say, I'm not, there is no guarantee I have that the tax money that I'm paying to the government is being spent appropriately or not. Therefore, I will not. You can't say that. Your side, what you have to do, you have to do. After finishing all that, let us see what the other person is doing. There's a lot of other. How to select my guru? Why do you have to select? First of all, guru should select you as a Shishya, no? Which guru will take you as a Shishya, first of all? That nobody asks. Everybody asks only what questions are. How am I to know of all the gurus in the world who is the perfect guru? We never ask the question, am I a perfect student? You want a perfect teacher. The teacher will say what? I want a perfect student. Are you a perfect student? The assumption all of us have is what? Obviously, I am perfect. You see, obviously, I am correct. Obviously, I am not corrupted. Only government is corrupted. I said, system is corrupted, sir. I have never seen a system. I have seen only human beings. You see, there's no system there. There is only a human there. Now, we will never say human. Why? There is a risk. Because he can retaliate. But when I say system, there is no such thing called system. You see, it is a fictitious entity. Since it is a fictitious entity, there is no problem. I escape. Such a cunning mind, I say. Your intelligence has made humanity more cunning. We are thinking we have to be more and more education has to be given to the world. We are only creating more and more cunning personalities. Cunningness is what is happening more in the world in the name of all this. Why? You can do all that in the world and you people suffer. But if you do the same thing here, nothing happens to him. Everything will be damaged only for us only. There's no loss for him. For the Guru, there is no loss. We lose. What is the problem? It's a loss for us, for humanity. Selling Christ for 30 silvers. Loss is for whom? For Christ. There's no loss for him. We lose. We lose a fantastic teacher. It's a loss for humanity. Same way. There's no loss for him, remember. Same way here. When you listen, beware. What he says, the teachings from the teacher will always conflict and contradict with your lifestyle, your beliefs, your value systems, your ideologies. Unless you are willing to suspect, that suspicion should be there, then you are ready for Shravanam. Otherwise, you are only sitting like what? Like a spectator. You see, you're just a spectator. You're not going there to learn. Like this music concerts, when we go, 95% of the audience in the music concert were all who? Music lovers, not music learners. Whereas you see to that same concert, one girl comes and sits. She is learning Carnatic music and she has just now learned this raga. She has been practicing that raga for some time and this man is singing that raga. How she will listen is totally different from a music lover who is listening to that music. You see that? There is a difference. So all the people who are sitting there cannot be treated as this. In a music concert, there is nothing wrong having a music lover there. In the spiritual context, spiritual lover is not needed here. I like to hear. It's a waste. You see, you are wasting your time. You rather go and sit and listen to music and get away. Here, what is it? You are interested in learning. When you are interested to learn, when you are committed to learning, and when you are willing to suspect and change your lifestyle, your values, my beliefs, that suspicion is what is known as faith, surrender, devotion, shraddha, belief, trust, etc. You need that suspicion. Listening should be done from that background. One. Then listening has to be done to a very orthodox method is listening should be live. Teaching, they say, has to be done only. You have to go physically and sit and learn. But then, to how many it would be actually possible, sir? No. That's why all the scriptures and all you see, it was not addressed to a congregation. Scriptures were all addressed to an individual. Bhagavatam was addressed to how many people? One Parikshit. Bhagavad Gita was taught to one Arjuna. Yoga Vasishta was given to one Rama. Upanishad is given to one student, one Achiketas. That's all. It is not to a congregation. See, it is always given person to person. But however, you can't take that ideal situation all the time. We have to understand that is ideal. Strive to move closer towards it every time. Any opportunity you get, you strive to go to closer to that aspect. That's about it. But you can't say only that is possible. Then we are becoming, fanatic. You see that? We should understand what is ideal and strive and go as close as possible to that. Then we taper it down to our levels. You see, that's all. But however, Shravanam means listening to the Guru live. Live listening alone is treated, strictly speaking. But that much of strictness can be given with whom? Only to an ideal student, ideal situation is possible. If I am not an ideal student, then you can't be saying I have to go to that ideal situation. Not possible. You have to work it out from your level only. Applications has to be done from your level only. This is with reference to listening. After listening to consistently for a long period of time, and listening, they say you have to do two things in listening. There are so many angles. See, so I'm just giving few things today. That's all. I make whatever comes in my mind, I'm just giving it to you. That's all. Another aspect which is interesting about listening is you have to listen many things from one teacher and one thing from many teachers. We are very good in doing the second part because YouTube is available. Bhagavad Gita lectures, everybody is given Bhagavad Gita lectures available on YouTube. In this whole Janma, even if you were to be sitting in front of your YouTube and listen, still you will not be completing it. That much content is available in YouTube as on date. And every day it is growing in terms of exponential quantity. Listen to one teacher, many things, many times. And listen one thing from many teachers. Both you have to do. Shravana, listening. You see carefully, by the time you complete that Shravanam itself, one Janma will be over. One Janma full you have to spend only on Shravanam. Then comes the second part, which is known as Mananam, reflection. In the Shastras, what bhajagovindam says is, don't spend much time with reference to Shravanam. Spend your energy more on Mananam. That's where he says, Kinchit, little. The problem we have is, we do a lot on Shravanam because Shravanam has one inherent flaw. There is a problem in Shravanam. The problem is, more and more you keep listening, you tend to get into the belief that you have understood. You see, because the knowledge goes and sits in your memory. You keep listening to it again and again and again, it will go and sit in your memory. When it goes and sits in your memory, you think it is your knowledge. It is your idea. Most of the things that we say, I'll just give a, this is how we have to do. Teaching, always we do like that. You say, you read for next, 10 days. Don't read anyone. Don't listen to anything. Read only Vivekananda. Okay. Next 10 days, you read only Jiddu Krishnamurti. Suddenly you will see, after 10 days, 15 days, 2 weeks later, 1 month later, you will see your whole thinking has changed to that completely. And you leave that, you go and read, Shivananda. Whole thinking will be like Shivananda only. So whenever you are saying things, you are doing things, it is not you who is speaking. It is Shivananda speaking through you. It is Jiddu Krishnamurti speaking through you. It is Vivekananda speaking through you. It's not yours. It's theirs. But the problem is, since it is coming from you, you will think what? See, since I am saying, a lot of people go and tell Swamiji this. You're also talking exactly like Ishwaran. He says, hey, he is talking like me. I am not talking like him. Why you go and say that? Because you have heard Ishwaran first. Hey, Swamiji also gives the same example, man. Say, no. He is the one who has been giving that example for the last 45 years. But unfortunately, you heard it first time from my mouth. Therefore, you believe what? Whatever I am speaking now, you believe, since it is coming from my mouth, you believe it is mine, isn't it? Since it is coming from me, you think it is mine. But I should know whether it is mine or I borrowed and gave it to you. Like the delivery boy comes and delivers. It is not coming from him, it is coming through him. The company has sent it to you. That's all. Through this delivery boy. The documents you receive was not given by this boy. Of course, without that boy, you wouldn't have received it. That's a different thing. But however, the document is not given by him. The content is not his. It's borrowed. In Shravanam, the problem is you start believing that borrowed knowledge to be your own knowledge over a period of time. That's the blunder. That is a mistake. That's the danger of Shravanam. To offset that, to delete this possibility and make it your own knowledge, it's your own, is where this mananam comes into picture. This exercise of reflection, exercise of thinking. You contemplate, you reflect, you think, you investigate, you reason, you analyze. All that you do with the knowledge that you have received. It is like I attract a venture capitalist to invest on my startup. He brings in money. With his money, I do business. And then I live out of what? My living should be out of the profits that I made from the business. But however, I am so grateful for that initial investment brought in by the venture capitalist, or the bank given a loan, whatever you call it. But the problem is what? You take that loan from the bank saying that I am going to do business, and you start buying cars, you start buying properties, you start doing all other things instead of doing big business. That's where the problem is. Same way, here you take in that knowledge, that is Shravanam. Receive that information, receive that knowledge. When you receive the knowledge, no doubt the knowledge given to you from the master is from his wisdom only. From his wisdom only he is giving. Now, I am giving you some money, means I am giving it from my savings. It is a saving for me. But when it is given to you, it becomes a loan, isn't it? It's not saving for you. It is loan for you. Similarly, when this is inside him, it's wisdom. That wisdom, when he gives it to you, it becomes knowledge. You are taking in only knowledge. You are taking in only that information. You take in that information, and then what are you supposed to do, sir? You can't just keep that information thinking that now this information is my wisdom. No, it is still knowledge only for you. This knowledge needs to be converted into wisdom. You have to extract wisdom out of that knowledge. You have to squeeze that knowledge to extract it. Like a sugar cane, you squeeze to extract the juice, isn't it, from the cane. Similarly, from the knowledge given to you, you have to squeeze and extract. That extracting process is called manana, reflection. And he says, do a little reflection, man. To do a little reflection, you don't require so much of information. You don't require a truckload of sugar cane. For you to extract that juice, at any point of time, you insert only 2 sugar canes, isn't it, to squeeze that. You may have the truckload inside, but every time you have to extract, how do you extract it, sir? Take 2 out of it, squeeze, throw that, take the next 2, squeeze, extract, throw. That's how we do it. Because you don't have that sugarcane factory. If you are having a sugar factory, then truckload can be managed by you. Or you having the factory in you is the point. We don't have that factory in me. Therefore what? I don't have to worry about having a truckload of sugar cane. I need how much, sir? 2 sugar cane is enough for me. The juice I take, I drink, satisfy my thirst and walk out. That's all I have the capacity. But however, what you have to do, sir? Extract the juice. Now that process of extracting the juice from the cane, from that knowledge, is the process called reflection, is a process called mananam. Mananam means reflecting. Reflecting means thinking. Thinking means what? Investigation. Investigation means exploring the possibilities, not conclusions. We think, straight from, without doing anything, you listen, you conclude. You just jump from there to there. That's where we are not able to live that at all. That's why it looks, so impractical. That knowledge looks impractical to all of us. Attachment line, it is good to talk Ishwaran, but you can't really be detached, no. will be attached only, no. You know, how much ever you know, there is no value for the world, but still, all this we'll discuss only during classroom time. You see, during the classroom discussion, we have all this ideas. Once the class is closed, you move out, you get on to life, you got, this will create a split in your personality. The knowledge which is supposed to be integrating you, uniting you into one being, creates a fantastic split in you. Saying what? See, practical life is one thing, spiritual is another thing. You never understand life and this knowledge is one and the same. There is no difference. You can't distinguish that. Why we are not able to distinguish? The distinction we don't get so easily. That understanding is not coming to us so easily. Why is that? Because this information is not being processed and made it your own. It's not coming out of you. It's not coming from within you. This understanding is not from within you. It is to bring it there is where you have to think. You have to reason. You have to reflect. You have to process it. You have to investigate. In investigations, that's why I prefer the word, instead of thinking, I prefer the word investigate. Like a crime scene, the inspector comes. He investigates the case. He suspects everyone. He suspects everyone. He doesn't leave any information. He doesn't take any, even an innocuous statement, innocuous information. Also, he doesn't leave. He files everything. He records everything. He suspects everybody. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe this. You know, husband is passed away. Even the wife is suspected by this man. He says what? That's what my job is. I have to suspect you also. You see, he says, what nonsense. How can you be thinking like that? No. He says what? I'll suspect you. So thinking means what? Now remember, in Shravanam the rule is what? Whatever the teacher says is correct. I am wrong, he is correct. This is listening rule. When you come to Mananam, the rule is totally different. When you come to reflection, what is it, sir? Doesn't matter whoever says, I suspect. Oh. This clarity is where many people buckle. Either group falls into the category of, what, sir? Whatever he says is correct, therefore, I never suspect. Or, in listening, they start the suspicion. No. When you are listening, the rule is what? Shraddha, faith, absolute faith. When you are reflecting, what is it, sir? Mananam means what? Suspicion. And then investigation. Suspicion, not just what he says. You suspect even your so-called beliefs. This is how it should be done. Why? What do you mean why? That's how it is supposed to be done, no? Like I say, classic, my standard example is, our relatives, they have two fellows are there. These people don't know how to make dosa, he says. This man. Fascinating logic of this. Why? Dosa should be white. It should not be golden brown. Now tell me which is correct. Dosa should be white or it should be golden brown. not burnt, not black. That's that is if I prepare dosa, it will come like that, right? Correct. You can't have. But his argument is dosa should be what? The timing. You see, you should know how to manage in dosa preparation. It is nothing to do with the shape and all that. Shape and all will come over. What is so critical is to maintain the temperature. You see that you have to keep reducing and increasing the heat. That smartness you should have. That's where the difficulty is. His point is it should be white. These people don't know how to make dosa. Another group is there. Dosa means it should be thick. One. Another one says dosa means it should be transparent as paper. You take the dosa there, you should see the other side. It should be so thin. That's dosa. Now, what is the big difference? Now, I suspect the preparation methodology of the other person. This is how it should be done. That's how that sauce has to be. This is how that sauce is supposed to be. You say, now which is correct? If at all you suspect others' method. You suspect the teaching given by the master. Have you ever had a suspicion on your conclusions? That's where thinking should start. The starting point of thinking is this, remember. Starting point of thinking is what's a reflection, mananam. If at all you have to do mananam, where do you start? We all start thinking, where? If I use the word prarabdha vasana, say, and move on, suddenly one question will come. Sir, what is the prarabdha vasana? You said? Yeah, correct. Will come into picture. Panchikarana. If I say Panchikarana, if I say and move on, you will start asking the question, sir, what is this Panchikarana? We have never heard of that. What is this Panchikarana? What is it? Now, you are not thinking here, please. This is not thinking. Why? Because you don't even know what is that. So if at all you are asking questions, reflecting, reasoning, thinking, you ask only information seeking questions. Processing question we never ask. Because processing question will come only when you suspect. So first step in mananam, foundation of Shravanam is what, sir? Trust, belief. Foundation for mananam is what, sir? Suspicion. Suspecting what? Not suspecting the teaching. Suspecting my belief. To suspect your belief, what you have to do? You got to bring it to surface first. Like attachment. Love is still an emptier sound, modern fair one's chest. Unknown on earth, are found only to warm the turtle's nest. Correct. All attachment only, sir. No love. There's no love you have. Say, correct, sir. I don't have love. But then, when you go, you finish the class and you go, I close the system after the class. I gave a fantastic demonstration, explanation about love, attachment and all those things. I close, there is no love, I say. I go out, my daughter comes. What happens now? She asks, Dad, you don't love me. What do I say to her? Now, what are you going to say? I say, yeah, of course I love you so much. But in the class, I heard what? All that I'm calling as love is nothing but attachment only. It's only attachment, that's all. Now, love, we say, oh, first question we ask is, forget about what is the correct definition of love. That's what everybody asks. Immediately you will start asking the question, what is love, Ishwaran, according to you? Then I go. Another lecture you go, another teacher will come. There, that fellow, what is your definition of love? He says something else. Another fellow says another definition. Another fellow gives another definition. Now, does you see your daughter, you see your son, you see your granddaughter, wife, husband, all that based on that definition? Or you live your life on your definition? Now, before you process that investigation into what is true love, you have to bring in what is your understanding of love. See, in Shravanam, you have received the knowledge from the teacher. This is love. This is renunciation. Okay, he has given that. Now, if you have to process it, if you have to reason with that, you need one more, no? With what you are going to process it? Most of us will start processing it, taking 2 YouTubers. What is that teacher said? What is that spiritual man said? What is this man said? And we believe we are thinking. That is not thinking, please. That is still what? Information only. Because that is totally divorced from your life. That's where you become a scholar. You become a philosophy professor. Like I always give this example. Remember, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan is no way near Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He would not come anywhere near him. Why? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is totally different from Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. If you take, he is illiterate. He doesn't know anything. Even the Bengali that he was speaking is not like a chaste Bengali that of Rabindranath Tagore and all. Local language only he was speaking. But still, Radhakrishnan can never be treated as a spiritual man. We treat him only as a scholar. Isn't it? You don't treat him. At best, what will happen, sir? Why? Radhakrishnan did not do one thing which Ramana did, Vivekananda did, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa did. What is that? If at all he was reasoning with what, sir? With what this master said, what that master said. What is the difference between Buddhism, Jainism, and inside Jainism, what is the difference between this and that? All that if you ask Radhakrishnan, he will explain. Beautiful explanations he will give. Very useful. I'm not talking about the genuinity of a man. Don't think that, I am decrying Radhakrishnan, please. Okay. Some people think, I have a, no. Both are giants. I'm saying even if you become like that, where you will reach there? In this process, if you go, the highest position you can reach is Radhakrishnan. But you can never become Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Now, if you want to become Ramakrishna, what you have to do, sir? You have to do Mananam. Mananam alone will do. In Mananam, what you have to do, sir? Don't compare, don't do the reasoning, don't do the analysis, keeping 2 teachings, 2 teachers. He says that He says this. Now, which is correct, which is better, who speaks better, whose words are, that's of no use to you, please. Will not help you. Of course, it will help. Only to do what, sir? To become a philosophy professor. You will become a scholar. That will not help. Mananam is not that place. Mananam is, starting point of Mananam is, Shravanam I have received already. In Mananam, first thing I have to do is bring out my understanding of that concept, my own. What is renunciation according to me? Forget about what is true renunciation. Forget about what is attachment. Forget about what is love, what is kindness, what is compassion. All those things you keep it aside. What Buddha says about compassion, what, who am I, what is Ramana says, don't worry about that. What is your understanding about you first? Bring that. You do that, you will see how complicated it is, how taxing and how tiring it is. It's very easy. Easiest thing to do is, all that you require is a little interest in the subject. If you have, you can go on listening. No problem. Very easy. I can take a class for 2 hours. People will sit and listen. 2 hours class is not an easy thing. See, you will sit and listen to it. No problems. You will not feel anything. Yesterday it happened. I forgot the time. I thought the class is supposed to get concluded at 10:30. 9 to, I don't know how I got that idea suddenly. Because inside the room I don't keep a clock in the my study room. No clock I have. So that's the rule I have kept to myself, that I'll not keep a clock inside. So that otherwise every time you'll keep looking at the clock. So I don't keep that. 2 hours listening, no problem. And if you have little more inclination, you can come to this comparative analysis. What he is saying, what is there, what is Bhagavad Gita, what is Bhagavad Gita Krishna different from, this Uddhava Gita Krishna, what is this, what is that, all that scholastic analysis demands little more inclination, little more intellectual capability, no doubt about it. It does require an intellectual capability. Otherwise, you cannot do that sort of a reasoning. But will it bring about a transformation in you? That will not happen. For a transformation to happen in you, what is required is what, sir? First step is to bring out what is your understanding of it. Please remember, it is impossible that you don't have any idea about all these things. It is not like, integration, differentiation and all that, where you have no clue about what is it. You see, these ideas, you can't say, I have no idea about God. It's impossible. That demands a very, very high degree of honesty and alertness to say that I have no clue of what is the thing called love, man. I don't know. I don't know what is renunciation. Can you say that? I don't know what is called a life, living. I have no idea about it. It's not easy to come to that sort of conclusions. You see, you do have something. That is why you do have a belief in God. You do have an idea of God. You do have an idea of love. You do have an idea of renunciation. You do have an idea of right way of living. This is right, this is wrong. You don't have any confusions on all that. But I ask you to bring out that idea. Okay, according to me, it is love. According to me, what is renunciation? Suddenly you will realize you are repeating whatever you have heard. You see that? That is how your ignorance is hiding, he said. Why Mananam is so important, sir? That's why in the academy, Swamiji said, given a choice, you fellows are here right in front of me. Given a choice, I would prefer to have the class 4:30 in the morning. Get up, come. 4:30 to 6 should be the class timing. That's the ideal time to learn. But I have to sacrifice. You people don't understand the sacrifice as a teacher I'm doing, you would say. You are all there in front of me, and I know that's the best time that I can teach, and that's the best time that you are also available. I have to say no for it and do something else. Ask you fellows to do something else. You people should understand how important that is. Because we have had few classes, early morning classes we had at that time, 5:30, class. A few classes he did. There's no way to describe the class. It was totally different. The feel is different. That absorption is different. His personality, his presence, that the feel is out of the world. So we asked him, he said, you think I don't know that? But why I have given that time for you fellows to do self-study? Reflection time. Because that is the critical one. Hardly I have seen anyone, giving a value for reflection, recognition in the spiritual lobby for such a critical position reflection is playing in life. And it is so tiring, and you get fatigued. We don't understand. Unless you do it, you will never understand. It is exactly like, in the house, my mother and all would tell, hey, have 2 more rasgullas. He says, 2 more rasgulla mean that much calorie. She would say, all that you have to do is what? Jog another 5 minutes, no? Correct. You do the jogging for 5 minutes, you will know how difficult it is. Extra 5 minutes to jog after 25 minutes of jogging, to go for that next 5 minutes, how fatiguing it is, how tiring it is, how exhausting it is. Spiritual learning is not Shravanam. It starts from Mananam. Therefore, Shankara says, what? Bhagavad Gita Kinchitadita. I'm still stuck with that word Kinchita. I'm not able to move out of it. It is so inspiring, this idea. You got to, you see, only when you do that, you will enjoy. It's like those who are used to that exercising alone understand the joy of exercising. Not what comes out of exercising. It's not that, please. Oh, you look so trim, you look so slim, you look so nice. You are so. That's not what they are referring to. That's not the point. The joy of exercise. Like there's a video I saw Amir Khan's, for that Dangal, that movie, is this one. Yeah, he comes in 2 forms in that. I don't know. One scene you will see him so fat, with the belly and all that, old. Then he comes a character who's in sport, active sport. You see there, so muscular he is. And there's a video, it's there in YouTube. If you get a chance, you see that. Oh, I don't know how that man can do like that, And that's not the interesting part. Best part is, in between he says one thing, comment. The comment is, between the two, which you enjoyed? He said, the first one I enjoyed more. Why? I can eat whatever I want. I can sleep whenever I want. Nothing I have to worry about. Now here, what is it? It's exhausting, tiring. That reflection is tiring. You will understand. I'm only giving you one first step of reflection. The first step in thinking, reflection. Thinking, remember, thinking means continuing to keep exploring possibilities. Continue to explore. That continual, untiring exploration is called reflection. Not conclusions. Easiest thing to do is to conclude, and the conclusions of yours will be only two things. If you are a person who is not having that intellectual capabilities, you will immediately say whatever you are saying is correct, sir. Whatever Krishna says is correct, that's all. I'm not saying whatever Krishna says is wrong. Whatever he says is not. Either you do that, or else if you are a aggressive personality, if you are a passive personality, you say whatever master says, whatever the guru says, whatever your teacher says, whoever you consider as teacher, you will agree. If you consider Ishwaran also a teacher, you will agree with Ishwaran. That's all. And you think what? You have understood. That's not yours. If you are an aggressive type of a person, you will disagree to whatever he says, agree with whatever you have concluded. First step of reflection is, in Shravanam, you have received. In Mananam, bring your definition of that idea. And then explore. Then think. On what basis he says whatever he says? On what basis I have arrived at this conclusion, this understanding, this value, this belief? How did I arrive at it? How I arrived at this understanding, how he arrived at it. This, nowhere we are going to be saying who is correct and who is wrong. That's not the point. It's the process. That's all. The process is to bring out my understanding of what it is, and then exploring how did I arrive at it, how he arrived at this. This if you do, you are reflecting. This is first step of reflection. Then comes refining further, and finally reflection. When you do, something will happen in that whole process, something will come out of you. That little thing that comes out of that whole process, that is called wisdom. That wisdom will transform you. That transformation happens because of that wisdom. This is the process. Shravanam means is this. Listen with trust, faith that whatever that person says is correct. Without going ahead of him, without falling in love with the topic, without doing all this. Take in that information, not agreeing, just receiving. Step Shravanam. Mananam means processing it. Processing it with what? With my understanding of what this idea is all about. And how did I arrive at? And how did he arrive at? Because of this, something will come out. What comes out is called wisdom. That wisdom will transform you. That is the advice given by Dhrida Bhakti, Shankara. See you next class. Hari Om.